Okay, it's about time we have to start our session. This session was supposed to be presided over by Professor Shin Gi-yuk at Stanford University, but he couldn't come to the meeting, and I was asked to take his place. And before I was told that he pointed out some major issues in the brochure you may see, and I broadened these specific issues into a more broader framework of geopolitical game the players in East Asia are involved. And as you may know, Korean Peninsula is on the preface of thinking the unthinkable geopolitical game. It may be months, if not years, and before we know what the geopolitical game looks like. In the game of pushing back against each other, many experts seem to be quite skeptical about the possibility Trump and Kim Jong-un can resolve one of the world's most intractable geopolitical conflicts. Some people may say that the best case scenario would be the preservation of the status quo, but the goal is clear. The denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. Therefore, all players in East Asia work hard, may have an interest in playing along with the fiction that somehow Korean breakthrough is likely. I'm sorry. This is problem. But no matter how tenuous a hope for peace may be in the Korean Peninsula, we need to seize this opportunity. Watching and analyzing how this geopolitical game unfolds will be our utmost concern. Here we have specific questions raised by Professor Shin Gi-yuk at Stanford. This panel is going to assess the major achievements of the three recent summit meetings, Xi Jinping and Kim Jong-un, the Moon Jae-in, Kim Jong-un, Trump, Kim Jong-un summit meetings. We are going to explore the strategic implications of these summit meetings in the following session. And probably I may ask first Professor Yan Shu-tung from Tsinghua University what is thinking about the Chinese position on these recent summit meetings.
Thank you, Chairman. And today we have heard a lot of discussion about this.
As a moderator, I should have introduced myself, and also I should have introduced the panelists. And I am a professor emeritus from Seoul National University. I am a retired professor, and I used to call myself as a pensioner, but the reason why I used to call myself pensioner, whenever I met the scholars and politicians from East European countries, they call themselves a pensioner, and I try to compare myself with them, but they always envious of my status because my pension is much higher than theirs. And then we turn to North Korean case, and then if North Korea unified, then their pension system can be up to South Korean pension system. That was the question we used to talk. And that's why I'm quite used to say about I am a pensioner, but anyway. And Professor Yan Shu-tung, we have same common background, and he and I studied not together at Berkeley, and we have some Berkeley connection. And Yan Shu-tung, he is a well-known China specialist in international relations, and he is known as a realist I don't know what do you mean by realist. You have to define this by yourself. And some people say he's more nationalistic. Some people say he's more global realist. Anyway, he is representing Chinese intellectual circle on security and peace issues. And I will turn to Professor Yan Shu-tung on his view on Korean Peninsula. Professor Yan.
Thank you, Chairman, for the nice introduction. Well, according to these questions suggested on the agenda, and I will talk three things. First, how do we define the current events like these summits between Kim Jong-un with Xi Jinping and with President Moon and President Trump? And second is what's the result it will be. That means we have to focus the situation in near future. The third thing, what the best or what the worst thing may happen in the future. And first, I think this is still very regional. And so if you concern that the financial crisis 1997 and to 1998 is regarded as regional events. But the financial crisis and started in 2008 is viewed as a global issue. So that's a difference. And certainly all of these summits have the global influence, but I would say if you go to the Africa or Latin America, even the Middle East, and maybe most people never know about these issues. Okay, so now the regional issue means like the war in the Kosovo is regarded as European issues, not East Asian issues or the other issues, but World War II regarded as global issues. So that means that all of these summits and have the impact and the limited mainly in East Asia. Unfortunately, my understanding is for Northeast Asia, even the Southeast Asia, the ASEAN countries, and do not care about this very much. And you find that for the ARF almost never talk about the Korean Peninsula security issues, right? So here, since it is a regional issue, then we have to make some discussion about what kind of regional impact on the countries in this region. First, I think these three summits has already make the peace and guaranteed. So I'm very optimistic about this result. I don't think the situation will have a return. Turn back to what last year, mainly the April of the last year. And by now, including the United States, and I don't think any government will considering to initiate a war in this region. And I think the variness, the danger of the war is over. And certainly, I do not mean that in the future there's no trouble, everything is fine. No, there's still a lot of conflicts, a lot of security conflicts, but they do not have this kind of danger escalating into the war. This is a positive thing. Second, and this is a really event unexpected by anyone, and no one have predicted that. And Kim Jong-un will change his national guideline from the military first to economic first. Even the people in North Korea, even the member of the North Korea's government, even those members in this small group of decision-making in North Korea didn't realize that. And this issue will lead to the fundamental change of the direction of this country. So what does this change mean? This change means that as long as North Korea insists on this principle, and gradually, and North Korea will improve its relationship with the neighbors, and it will accepted by neighbors. And then in the future, certainly, mainly the economic cooperation will be among China Japan, and South Korea. And then North Korea will gradually get into this group. So in the future, when we're talking about the Northeast Asian Economic Cooperation, will be not only 3 countries. We're talking about the 4 countries. And so this is not because of the others' change. It's because of North Korea's change in their national policy. The other thing is also very positive is that at this moment, people talking about whether we should release the sanctions on North Korea. Certainly, everyone said that now before the North Korea implemented what they promised, and we should keep this sanction there. But meanwhile, I think all countries will allow this unforbidden economic connection to develop. For instance, the UN Security Council do not have any solution to forbidden tourism. So more and more foreign tourists will go to North Korea, I guess, and very soon the largest tourist group and will from the South Korea, not from the other countries. And the tourists will make their economy resume. And so these kind of individuals connection, individuals exchange programs and between North Korea and the rest of the world will grow in. And even some Europeans will have interest. Hey, the curiosity will make the European tourists, hey, let's go to the North Korea to see what's going on in that country, right? So my understanding, these things is actually already happened. Second, and then because North Korea already signed a political agreements with the U.S., and as long as they keep their current status, and I don't think any other countries can find the new legitimacy or reason to set new sanctions on North Korea. And then gradually this country will be accepted by the international community, and then all kinds of normal interactions between the North Korea and the other countries will continue, will happen. What does it mean? It means that it will make this Northeast Asia and very possibly escape from the so-called Cold War situation. And for a long time, we discussed about the Korean Peninsula is the only remaining parts of the Cold War. Actually, that's not true. And if you continue the remaining Cold War parts in the world, there's many places, like the war between the Israel and the Palestine. They're longer than you. They started from 1948, right? You start from 1950, 2 years earlier than you. So you see, but there's a really small area maintaining the Cold War. And this time, it's very possible for the Northeast Asia to get out of the Cold War and fully. Finally, I would say, although there's 3 summits, and actually the 3 summits and plays different functions. And my understanding, the summit between Kim Jong-un and President Moon Jae-in is Moon Jae-in. I'm sorry, Moon Jae-in, and it's very, very crucial, because if the North and the South, you have no problem with each other, you become friends. No outsiders can do anything. The problem is that because North Korea and South Korea, you're hostile against each other for several decades. If you become brothers and friends, and how can the others do anything else? So from my understanding, even there's 3 summits, I think the summits between the South and the North is the fundamental one. Thank you.
In your view, Chinese government believes that Kim Jong-un made a strategic choice. Kim Jong-un made a strategic choice toward economic development from military.
Yes.
Chinese government believes that.
Oh, I think this actually, this has already proved, that's not easy for him to change this political principle, the guideline, and from military to the economy. So we noticed that he even fired 3 very top military commanders. And that means the military are not that positively support his new guidelines. So now, from my understanding, actually he visits China so frequently, he needs China's political support to legitimize his new political guidelines. And he cannot get any support from the U.S. to support that change.
Many Koreans are quite concerned about Chinese attitude about the Korean peace process on the Korean Peninsula. At the moment, as you may know, that many newspapers had it that the Korean peace process proceeds on the basis of Chinese roadmap. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that's a kind of misunderstanding. You see,
Misunderstanding?
yeah, actually, I think if you read the People's Daily very carefully, you will find that they use the language is very interesting. They didn't say on the invitation to visit China, but then they said that his a special visit. That means he required a further visit to China. So this time, his third visit is so obviously and stated in the People's Daily, and Chinese leader gave a strong support to his political line of economic reform and transfer the guidelines from the military first to economic first.
Question before I move on to some other panelists. And what do you think Chinese major objectives in the process of Korean denuclearization?
Well, for China, the first objective in this region is a peace. And we firmly believe that as long as the peace maintained in this region, that's the most favorable environment for China. And certainly we hope something even better than that. But then the worst thing is the war. So the preventing war from occurring is the fundamental goal of our policy toward this region.
Have you ever thought about the Korean stabilization may lead to destabilization in East Asia? Have you ever thought about this kind of possibility?
Well, actually, you see, these that why ASEAN countries worry that little about North Korea and before, from my understanding, even there's the war in this region, it cannot proliferate into the other regions. It's still a regional security issue. So for China, we do not worry about this war will escalate into a global war, the World War III. That's not true. That's impossible. But then it will dramatically undermine our environment for economic construction.
Okay, one more question. And have you ever thought about North Korea is moving from Chinese orbit into American orbit?
In China, there are some people, they really worry about that. The North Korea will, they use the terms, to stand at the American camp and with a gun. That means that they take their gun to stand at the American side against China. From my understanding, that's impossible. The question is not whether the North Korea have the plan to play the game between the big powers. The question is that whether the American Congress can accept this. And then American Congress even cannot accept the normal relationship with Cuba. How can they agree with Trump's this kind of idea? I think it's rumors, and they have the normal diplomatic relationship with North Korea. U.S. Congress cannot agree with that.
Later on, I will turn to you for some more questions. But now, I think Japan may be much more nervous than any other country in East Asia about this Korean peace process. And as far as I understand, that whether Korean peace process succeeds or not, Japan may lose. I happen to read these kind of articles in Japanese newspapers, and this may force Japan into a corner for some military option. And on these issues, Professor Okonogi, Professor Emeritus at Keio University, is the authority on North Korean issues in Japan. as well as on Korea-Japan relations. Professor Okonomi, please.
감사합니다. 요것보다 한국말이 괜찮은 것 같아서 일본말을 잘 못하는 것 같고. 그래서 잘 못하지만 한국말로 해보겠습니다. 6월 12일에 싱가포르에서 북미 정상회담이 개최됐는데 일본과 미국에서는 그 평가가 분류로 되고 있죠. 그런데 그것을 보면은 이 회담은 그 가까이에서 보는 즉 가까이에서 보는 눈하고 멀리에서 쳐다보는 풍경하고 많이 달라지는 것 같습니다. 가까이에서 보면 그 뭐라 합니까? 그 일본말에서는 긴게 금경이라고 하고 원경, 근경이라고 하는데 아마 요거로서는 마이크로스코프나 텔레스코프라고 하는 것이 적당할 것 같습니다. 가까이에서 보면은 결점이 많이 보입니다. 우선 트럼프 대통령이 회담 직전까지는 자기가 김정은하고 진짜 딜을 해보겠다 그렇게 말씀하고요. 그리고 폼페이오 장관도 CBID는 꼭 들어간다. 그렇게 회담 직전까지 그런 식으로 말을 해왔는데, 그래서 기대치, 그 내용에 대한 기대가 많이 올라갔어. 나도 내용 처음으로 봤을 때는, 공동성명 봤을 때는 좀 놀랐고 실망도 했습니다. 왜냐하면은 나중에 생각하면 그게 당연할지도 모르고, 북한이 그렇게 쉽게 양보하지 않는 것 당연하기도 보이는데, 그런데 대통령이나 국무장관은 그런 식으로 말을 해 있었는데 왜 이런 내용으로 됐는가? 그렇게 보는 게 보통이 아니었습니까? 실제로 공동성명에서는 비핵화의 내용이라든가 프로세스에 대해서 언제 시작해서 언제 끝나는가에 대해서 탄도미사일을 들어가고 있는지 없는지 그런 것에 대해서 아무 언급도 없습니다. 다만 한마디만 약속이 있는데 그건 북미 회담 성과를 실행에 옮기기 위해서 폼페이오 장관과 북한의 고위 당국자가 될 수 있는 더 빨리 후속 협상을 하겠다. 그 한마디 있는 것뿐이죠. 그 외에는 구체적인 내용은 없습니다. 그래서 미국이 제대한 압력이라고 해서 전략 복격기라든가 에어크래프트 캐리어라든가 그런 거 통해서 군사적인 압박을 가해요. 그리고 나서 UN 안보리사회 결의로서 간략한 견제 제재도 했는데 그런데 그 효과는 크지 않았다. 결국 트럼프 대통령은 김정은 대등하게 협상할 수밖에 없었던 것 같이 그렇게 보입니다. 근데 이게 긍정이 마이크로스코프로 보면 그렇게 보이는 것입니다. 그런데 머리에서 보면은 그렇지도 않습니다. 우선 뭐니 해도 한국 전쟁 거의 70년 되는데 그동안에 군사적으로 대결해온 양나라 지도자가 둘이서 직접 회담하고 합의 문서에 서명한 것 자체가 충분히 역사적인 이벤트였다. 그렇게 할 수가 있습니다. 두 번째로 그 두 지도자가 서명한 공동 성명에 있어서 트럼프 대통령께서는 북한의 안전 보장, 안전의 보증, 세큐리티 기아란티를 준다. 그렇게 약속하고 김정은 위원장은 완전한 비핵화를 하겠다는 결의를 표명했습니다. 그래서 양자가 서로 원하는 것으로 교환한다. 트레이드오프 관계가 명백히 써 있다는 게 하나의 특징이라고 할 수 있습니다. 그리고 세 번째는 양자는 그 새로운 초미 관계, 북미 관계 수립을 하는 것이 한반도의 평화 번영에 기여한다. 그렇게 확인하고 서로의 신뢰 조성이 한반도의 비핵화로 측정한다. 신뢰 조성이 있어야 한반도에 비핵화가 있다. 그렇게 그런 공통된 인식을 표명했습니다. 이 문서에 의하면은 새로운 미북 관계가 비핵화로 직진하는 것이지 그 반대가 아닙니다. 그게 큰 특징이라고 할 수가 있습니다. 왜냐하면 그것은 바로 김정은 위원장이 계속 주장해온 것이고 판문점 선언에서도 나오는 그런 논리 구조가 여기에 있다고 할 수 있습니다. 결국 둘이 지도자가 대등한 입장에서 안전의 보증과 완전한 비핵화를 교환한다. 그 협상에 들어간다는 것을 선언한 것이고 스타트 라인을 만든 것이니까 멀리에서 보면 그게 예쁘게 보입니다. 아름다운 풍경, 미래도 여기에 담아있다. 그렇게 볼 수밖에 없는 것이죠. 그래서 제가 처음에 한 것처럼 가까이에서 보는 거하고 멀리에서 보는 거 완전히 다른 풍경인데 이제부터는 그 두 가지 풍경이 교착되는 것입니다. 크로스되고 실제 역사가 시작하는 것이기 때문에 그 정도는 타당하다고 할 수밖에 없습니다. 몇 가지 큰 특징에 대해서 지적하고 싶은데 하나의 특징이 이렇습니다. 트럼프 대통령도 김정은 대통령도 위원장도 돌아가지 못한다는 것이죠. 앞으로 갈 수밖에 없다. 그 내용 그대로 보면 앞으로 갈 수밖에 없습니다. 뒤에 돌아간다는 것이 1년 전 돌아간다는 것과 마찬가지이기 때문에 1년 전에 2월 정도에 돌아가면 어떻게 될까 생각하죠. 두 달에 있으면 프리덤 울지 프리덤 가디안 군사훈련이 있습니다. 그러면 8월쯤이 다시 긴장이 고조돼서 미북 관계는 전쟁 직전까지 갈 것 같습니다. 그래서 돌아갈 수는 없어요. 돌아가지 못한다고 해도 그냥 전진도 후퇴도 안 하고 있다는 그런 게 할 수 있지 않느냐 그렇게 또 생각할 수 있습니다. 그런데 그때는 어떻게 된다고 생각하면 북한도 비핵화를 전당하는 것입니다. 그래서 합의 문서의 뜻이 없어지는 것이죠. 따라서 북한의 비핵화를 시키려고 하면은 앞으로 전진할 수밖에 없다. 그런 구조가 이 문서에 되어 있다. 그렇게 봐야 합니다. 북한 측에서는 이것을 어떻게 표현하는가 하면 손위의 대화를 기초로 해서 신뢰 조정 조치를 한다. 혹은 단계적으로 동시 행동의 원칙, 행동 대 행동 그런 뜻으로 그런 식으로 노동신문에서는 있습니다. 그러니까 예를 들면 그 한미 양국에서는 8월에 실시될 예정이었던 군사 훈련을 중지하는 것을 발표했습니다. 트럼프 대통령도 정상회담 직후의 기자회견에서 전쟁 게임을 하면서 협상하는 건 적당하지 않다. 그런 말을 했습니다. 그런 식으로 미국 측에서 손인의 조치, 신뢰 조성 조치를 취하면 북한도 비핵화로 해야 한다. 그런 식으로 단계적 행동 대행동 그렇게 내용으로 되고 있는 것입니다. 그런데 어려움이 있습니다. 그 손위의 조치라고 해도 뭐가 무엇으로 대응시키는가? 지금 그 군사훈련 이야기를 했습니다만 예를 들면 북한이 앞으로 협상 후에 폼페이오 장관과 협상한 후에 미국 본토에 도달하는 ICBM과 핵탄두를 포기하겠다. 그렇게 하면 어떻게 됩니까? 그러면 미국은 지금 하고 있는 경제 제재를 완화합니까? 혹은 모든 조치가 끝나야 완화하는 것입니까? 그런 선택을 해야 하는 조치가 되겠습니다. 그래서 그렇게 쉬운 일이 아니라는 것이죠. 모든 것이 끝날 때까지 이쪽도 아무것도 안 한다고 하면 북한 사람들이 반해서 이게 공동성명 내용하고 다르다고 그렇게 주장하기 시작할 것 같습니다. 그런데 예를 들면 일본 입장도 이렇게 됩니다. 혹시나 ICBM만 포기하고 트럼프 대통령이 이렇게 되어서 미국이 안전되었다. 나머지는 한국과 일본 두 나라에서 하려고 그렇게 하면 아주 곤란되는 사태가 생긴 것입니다. 일본 사람들이 걱정하고 있는 건 그런 사태라고 말씀할 수가 있습니다. 두 번째
잠깐만 이건 지금 가장 요새 일본이 걱정하는 건데 오코노미 교수가 지적하셨다시피 이 대륙간 탄도 미사일을 북한이 폐기를 하면은 미국이 북한의 요구를 들어주고 상응하는 조치를 취해줄 경우에 중단거리 미사일에 관한 얘기는 미국에 도달하지 않으니까 트럼프가 별로 신경을 쓰지 않을 거다. 근데 일본이나 한국은 중단거리 미사일의 사격권 안에 있기 때문에 안보에 굉장한 위협이 되고 있고 그래서 일본은 이 문제를 굉장히 심각하게 고민하고 있다 이런 말씀입니다.
예, 그렇습니다. 두 번째로 중요한 것이 미초 북미 회담 협상과 남북 대화가 병행적으로 진전된다는 그런 것입니다. 우선 판문점 선언 있고 두 번째로 공동성명이 있었던 것이기 때문에 그 남북 대화하고 미조 대화는 병행적으로 진정되어야 한다는 것이라고 할 수 있습니다. 하나만 아마도 남북 대화는 먼저 가고 미조 대화가 타락한다는 것은 있을 수 있는데 그런데 북미 대화가 중지되는데 혹은 진전되지 않는데 남북 대화만 진전한다는 거 생각하기가 좀 힘들어요. 역시 어느 정도 북미 간에 문제가 생기면은 북측은 남북 대화도 거절하지 않을까 그런 걱정이 있습니다. 그것의 두 번째 특징인데 그래도 지난번에 남북 정상급 회담이 있었다는 보도를 들었습니다. 근데 한국 측은 그때 북한의 비무장지대 DMZ 뒤에 있는 근처에 있는 그 장거리포 그 시스템으로 후방으로 3, 40km 후방으로 이동시키려고 그런 요청인지 요구인지 그런 것을 주장했다. 그런 소식도 들었습니다. 이것은 군사적인 CBM, 신뢰 조성 조치라고 할 수 있죠. 이런 것이 계속 서로가 할 수 있으면은 그게 큰 성과가 될 수가 있습니다. 그래서 비핵화 진정하면서 남북 대화도 진정한다는 것을 이게 이상적인 격이기 때문에 그렇게 쉽게 될지는 모르겠습니다만 그러나 그런 식으로 된다는 것이 우리의 이상적인 모습이라고 할 수가 있습니다. 서로가 변현적으로 전진해서 한반도의 평화 전쟁되면 어떻게 됩니까? 그게 아마 지금 상상할 수 있는 모습의 남북 공정하고 미중 균형 같은 모습, 신뢰 조성 조치가 있으면은 그게 2+2의 대단도 비슷한 모양이 조금씩 보이기 하지 않을까. 미조 균형이라는 이야기는 북한 측에서는 미국과 관계 개선, 새로운 관계를 만든다고 하지만 그러나 옛날부터 있는 중국과의 관계를 역시 아주 중요시하고 있는 게 세 번의 중국과 북한의 정상회담을 보면 알 수 있는 것처럼 그 관계에 중시하는 것이기 때문에 그래야 역시 서로 여태까지는 중국만 관계 개선할 수 있었는데 지금 북한 사람들은 미국하고 중국하고 두 가지 할 수가 있다는 이야기가 되겠죠. 그래 한국이 중국과 깊은 관계를 가지면서 미국과 안전보장상 관계를 가지고 있다는 거 마찬가지니까. 그래서 아주 대등한 관계. 그런데 앞으로의 경제 발전을 생각하면 남북 공정은 꼭 필요한 것이기 때문에 북한 쪽에서는 그래서 조금 잘못되면은 앞으로 보이는 모습이란 국제 시스템이라는 게 남북 공정하고 미적 균형이 플러스되는 그런 관계라고 할 수가 있습니다. 제3 중요하게 한 것은 간단히 말씀드리겠습니다만 아마 북한의 비핵화하는 방법이 조금 우리가 상상하는 것과 다르지 않느냐 그런 느낌도 있습니다. 그것은 리비아 시기냐 트럼프 시기냐 하는 논쟁이 있었는데 아마 북한 사람들은 김정식으로 하려고 그게 어떤 것인지 모르지만 그러나 핵 시험장을 자기들끼리 폭파해서 폐쇄하는 것을 보면은 CBID는 verifiable 검증 가능한 것은 크게 신경 쓰지 않고 자기들 마음대로 해버릴 가능성도 있다. 그렇게 조금 그것은 조심해야 하는 게 아니냐 그렇게 보고 있습니다. 마지막에 일본 입장이지만 요새는 아베 수상도 정상회담에 대해서 언급 시작했죠. 김정은하고 정상회담 한다. 준비하라는 그런 것도 말도 있는데 글쎄 그 어떤 식으로 되는지는 조금 역시 봐야 하는 것 같습니다. 봐야 한다는 이야기는 미조 협상 후에 북한의 비핵화가 어느 정도 진전되는가 아직까지 보고 있을 것 같습니다. 아마 제가 보기에는 September 9월에는 그쪽에 중요한 행사 건국 70년 행사 하고 뉴욕의 유엔 총회 있기 때문에 그때쯤이야 첫 번째 단계 비핵화를 해야 하는 것 같고 그때까지 아무것도 안 하면 역시 북한과의 합의 내용에 대해서 우리도 의심을 가져야 하겠습니다. 그러니까 그때 그거 보면서 일본 마지막 태도를 결정하겠지만 그래도 지금 안력이 아주 강합니다. 즉 남북 정상도 만나고 중국과 북한 정상은 3번 만나고 미 북한 정상도 만나는데 일본은 뭐 하고 있는가? 납치 가족들이 빨리 만나달라 그렇게 요청하기 때문에 아베 수상의 입장이 아주 어렵다고 나는 보고 있습니다. 그러나 지금 하는 그 이야기는 근내적인 정치 요원이 있고 그걸 말에는 사실은 그 자민당 LDP의 존재 선고가 있습니다. 그러니까 존재 선고 때문에 대화를 하고 있는 가능성도 없지 않으니까 그러니까 일본의 북한과의 관계에 대해서는 결국 9월까지 봐야 합니다. 9월 이후가 돼야 진짜 그런 가능성이 열리는지 안 열리는지 알 수가 있다고 봅니다. 그러나 북한 쪽의 입장은 태도는 아주 강합니다. 북한은 미국하고 외교에 성공했으니까 같은 방식으로 일본에 하려고 합니다. 일본도 북한하고 새로운 관계를 매야 다른 문제, 안보 문제도 남북 문제도 해결하겠다. 그렇게 강하게 하지 않을까 그렇게 보고 있습니다. 감사합니다.
이 한반도 비핵화가 일본에 제기하는 전략적 의미에 대해서 나중에 다시 돌아가면서 토론하기도 하겠습니다. 한데 그동안 이 한반도 비핵화 프로세스를 노스 이스트 에이션 퍼스펙티브와 홀 이스트 에이션 퍼스펙티브에서 이렇게 관찰해 오신 우리 미스터 매농, you have some ideas on this?
Well, I'd be happy to, but I can't speak for the whole world. I can only speak for myself. But certainly from where I am, I'm based in Delhi, what has happened, the 3 summits, is a welcome development because it seems to have averted a conflict which seemed looming at the end of last year, and that's. But the other problem, I think, with the result of the summits is that it leaves us with the impression that there are very hard negotiations ahead for 2 reasons. One, denuclearization is not an easy issue. And it's not an easy issue for the rest of the world either. I mean, here I don't think it's only a Korean issue or a Northeast Asian issue, because every region of the world has its own non-proliferation issues. And many of them are looking to see what's going to happen here, whether North Korea will keep her weapons or not, and her delivery systems. I mean, this is true whether it's the Middle East, whether it's South Asia, wherever else you look, there are non-proliferation issues which are under the surface. So that's one reason why it looks as though there's hard negotiations ahead. I mean, the Libyan example which you quoted is really not a very happy example from anyone's point of view. That's really not where anyone wants to end up. But the other reason is because what has happened, these three summits have happened at a time when the entire international order is in transition. And more important, when you look at the region, at Northeast Asia, at Asia as a whole, the basic balance of power in Asia has shifted. And this is why I'm actually optimistic, that this time the process will not produce the same results it did in the early 90s or in the early part of this century. Because today the power in the region is much more balanced, much more evenly distributed. China's role is critical. And what this has meant is that as a result, it has shaken loose the situation. Everybody is talking to everybody else or wants to talk to everybody else. We are now talking about a possible Abe-Kim summit. The Russians want a summit as well. Everybody is, Kim himself talking to the US president. That's a huge shift from where we were before. So from the outside, it looks as though power has shifted, balance of power has changed, the context in which it's happening has changed, therefore everything has been shaken loose. And the agency for this is with the Koreans. I mean, that's the impressive part now. It is what your President Moon has done, it's what Kim has done, which has actually shaken loose the... But where have they gone? 3 times Kim has gone to China because of China's role, because China will have a powerful influence. But he's also talking directly to the US. Now, this is a destabilizing process. When allies start talking to former enemies, their allies start getting worried, and their behavior becomes unpredictable. So it's very hard to predict where it goes, but it will not go exactly where it went before. I mean, that I think is the one conclusion we can draw, that it is going to be a different process. The regional powers, China, Japan, the US, because she is here, and of course, primarily the 2 Koreas, today have a chance to shape this region differently from what it was before. We say break out of the Cold War, but into what? Into a much more, and this is where the problem is. Do you choose peace and cooperation, or do you choose denuclearization? Because sometime down the road, you're going to have to choose between the two. Are you going to make all the cooperation and the peace conditional on denuclearization? Or do you create a stable structure of deterrence in Northeast Asia, which involves all the primary 4, which is the 2 Koreas, Japan, China, and work out a stable structure of deterrence that could look very different from what we have today, and do the peace and prosperity that deterrence actually brings the peace that you need to prosper. Ideally, that's where I think it should go. I think there's a chance today to try for something very different from what we've known before, and that from the outside is hopeful. Is it going to be easy to get there? Of course not. Nothing new is easy, and especially when people are still figuring out what this new order is, what the balance of power is, who has the real power, who has the control. So it's not going to be easy at all. And I think all the things that you mentioned, the various fears, this is not only Japan is going to be worried. I think everybody, all the parties will be nervous. But if you look at the record since the mid-50s, what Korea has managed is remarkable. You've managed to keep the peace and to build prosperity in one of the most difficult security environments on earth. Having done that, I'm confident that actually this can be done in the future. I'm much more optimistic, I think. Now, maybe this is because, as he says, I sit far away, I get a macro view, I can afford to be confident. But I actually think it can be done. I'll stop here, and maybe in the discussion we'll come back to this.
You raised the issue I was going to raise at the last moment. But anyway, as you mentioned that Korean stabilization may lead to East Asian destabilization. And ironically, during the last 70 years on the Cold War system, the bipolar structure was rather stable. But from now on, we don't know whether this multipolar structure can be stable or not, And up until now, we have an alliance relationship. But from now on, it's, America and China may have, especially America, may take offshore balancing policy, which means that you can make deals with enemies while demanding allies or more of the things. And this kind of situational change may force the countries in the region to take a policy of balance of power diplomacy, maybe. If you do a good balance of power politics, you may find. But if you don't do well, then that means destruction of your country.
Well, actually,
that happened in the early 20th century in our country.
If you look at the historical record, bipolar systems have only worked once. That's the Cold War, which ended peacefully. No other bipolar system from Sparta, Athens onwards has actually ended well. Multipolar systems are the historical norm and have actually worked well. So, I don't know. Anyway, that's
Kissinger's theme, and he wants to establish in East Asia, like on the basis of bean system, actually. But I will turn to Marty Metalagawa, a former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Indonesia, and why don't you tell something about the regional implications of this peace process in the Korean Peninsula.
Well, thank you very much indeed for giving me the floor. Speaking on the subject matter of Korea, the Korean Peninsula here in Korea, and amidst a room full of experts who are far more knowledgeable than I am, certainly, on this issue, and given the fact that this is an issue that had been dissected in such a minute detail over the past recent weeks, I wonder what additional thoughts and inputs I can share with you this afternoon, especially I'm following the three distinguished speakers before me. Certainly, I get the impression all of us are in recognition of the fact that developments on the Korean Peninsula is entering a very critical phase, a critical juncture, whether the Korean Peninsula will continue to be a perennial security threat to the region and beyond, or whether the Korean Peninsula will see the beginning of a fragile yet promising process of peace and trust building. I think we all recognize that fact that we are at a critical juncture. And secondly, I think all of us have reminded ourselves of the great magnitude of the various problems and challenges that are before us. Most often the problem of denuclearization. I think that has been the most often dissected and the most often discussed. I wish not, of course, to forget the other dimensions of the problems in relation to Korean Peninsula, the humanitarian issues, the issues of family reunion, the issues of the abducted nationals of Japan in particular, other humanitarian issues, human rights issues. These are issues that defies immediate solution, and echoing and emphasizing differences are actually quite straightforward, but how do we actually try to bring about the beginning of a resolution of some of these problems? In this afternoon, I simply wish to bring forth one dimension from the perspective of someone who is outside of the region, obviously, is to emphasize how recent developments, in my view, especially emphasizing the inter-Korean process, offers the hope of the beginning of a Northeast Asian regional dynamics. I share the views of others that emphasize that ultimately what matters most is how the two Koreas conduct themselves. Honestly, the other powers, however well-intentioned they are, must have the humility and must respect what are actually the wishes of the Korean leaderships and the Korean people. Must give space for the possibility of peace to take root. It must be part of the solution rather than part of the problem. In saying this, I am reminded of my own region, Southeast Asia. Friends in this room would no doubt recall there was a time where Southeast Asia, not unlike Northeast Asia, was also a region beset by problems. Amongst ourselves, amongst countries of Southeast Asia themselves, we had, even among the countries that eventually become the founding members of ASEAN, we were having tremendous problems. Konfrontasi between Indonesia and Malaysia, Malaysia, Singapore having its own dynamics, Malaysia and the Philippines over certain disputes. And yet, and of course, all these divisions, and not counting the divisions between the so-called Indo-China countries and the ASEAN countries, all these divisions were magnified by the major power interests, to be honest. The major powers were in the region essentially to project their own interests. And if one was to look back, when fragile efforts were made by countries of the region to take matters into their own hand, there were those at the time who were saying, wait a minute, this is dangerous. This can undermine, for example, U.S. alliance relationship with the Philippines, with Thailand, with Singapore. Or how about the FPD, the Five Powers Defense Arrangement? How about Russia, the Soviet Union and its allies, and China with the allies? But countries of the region actually took matters into their own hand. And ASEAN, especially ASEAN 10, actually became the hub that brings all the major parties in harmony together. We changed the dynamics. Now, I'd like to think, having taken the courageous decisions, the leadership of the two Koreas, and hopefully soon joined by Japan, can similarly take their own initiative, a Northeast Asian process, and encourage others who want to really help to be really part of the solution and not to actually undermine and project their own extra-regional interests to the detriment of those in the region themselves. I sincerely believe with the right type of leadership, with the right type of courage, we can begin to see a Northeast Asian type of forum process develop, so that the Panmunjom meeting becomes not simply a meeting, it becomes a spirit, it becomes a process that can be widened and deepened. Which leads me to the third point that I wish to make, which is the role of ASEAN, if I may. I know this is a subject matter that may have been discussed already in this forum this year, probably yesterday. I believe ASEAN has a critical role to play. At the very least, to share lessons learned. As I had mentioned before, we went through a similar, extremely painful process of divisions and trust deficit, and we converted those to unity and trust, strategic trust. Soon, in about a couple of months' time, in July or in August, there will be a gathering of us leaders of the region in Singapore for the ASEAN Plus process, for the East Asia Summit at the ministerial level, for the ASEAN Regional Forum. it will arguably the first time post all these summits that we have been discussing that the subject matters will be brought to the wider regional level. ASEAN can make this more than simply a convening opportunity. I believe that we need to ensure that there is a peace dividends flowing from the recent processes. The sanctions, in my view, must begin to be lifted. Sanctions, as is nuclear armament, they are means to an end. It can only be influential if we begin to actually consider its lifting and applications. The DPRK must see to it, must be reminded that their efforts are actually, the efforts that they're seeking are bringing economic dividends, as well as humanitarian issues as well. I know the time is limited. The second point I wanted to say is the non-use of force. The Panjumbon Declaration speaks of the non-aggression treaties agreement between the two Koreas. All the principles on the North Korean issues have acceded to the TAC, the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation, including North Korea in 2008. It may not be a bad idea to develop the idea of a TAC for the countries of ASEAN Regional Forum. Non-use of force among the 27 members of the ASEAN Regional Forum, of which North Korea, of course, is part. Essentially, therefore, my humble suggestion is that when we are seeing what we are seeing just now, let's not just be too focused on obvious real problems. Denuclearization is an obvious one. But let's take a step back and consider the magnitude of what we are seeing now. In my view, the potential birth of a Northeast Asian regional process. And having a Northeast Asia as an association of Northeast Asia nations, not unlike ASEAN, will be the ultimate goals. And my final point on the balance of power. I'm not a great believer of such a notion, whether it's bipolar or multipolar. I believe in dynamics of power. It's not about static power capability. It's about intent. What goes on in the minds of the decision makers of these countries? What keeps them preoccupied? What bothers them? And I think in our region, what we should be striving for is not a balance of power. We should have an equilibrium, a way of getting along, basically, despite our differences. These differences are not going to be overcome overnight, so we must manage them. And we must have rules and norms to govern, to manage our relationship. But all in all, compared to this time last year, as others have said, we have greater promise, but we must persevere. And most of all, I think we must allow the regional countries, in this case, the two Koreas plus Japan subsequently, sufficient room, sufficient space, and above all, respect, so that they can go on getting into the business of reconciling their differences. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you presented us not only your assessment, also prescription for Korean peace process. But let me more specific on the denuclearization process in Korea. And what's your reading? What's your individual reading of the summit meetings between Trump and Kim Jong-un and Moon Jae-in and Kim Jong-un and Xi Jinping and Kim Jong-un? I myself, I'm very confused about, whether Korean government is pursuing denuclearization or else.
Well,
U.S. also. Trump is really pursuing denuclearization or peace treaty. I don't know. And what is your reading? Okay, please.
obviously, any efforts at denuclearization will be involve very complex sets of rules and provisions, the role, how to verify, the role of the IAEA, and so extremely complex technical issues that's not going to be overcome overnight. But the point that I wanted to make is to remind ourselves that ultimately this is about trust, about the issue, because the nuclearization, then the drive to acquire nuclear capability is driven by certain motivation. Now, you can denuclearize technically as much as you want, but the knowledge will still be there. And if these countries continue to harbor a sense of distrust, given political will, I'm sure it can be quickly reversed. So I think, of course, the experts and the technical experts and the strategists will focus, no doubt, on the material issue of denuclearization. But I think ultimately, the issue of the core issue of the trust, the motivations behind it, must be addressed. And as well, I think ultimately, of course, we are talking here of denuclearization of the peninsula, not just the one, at my understanding, and as well of the sub-region. Southeast Asia have tried to develop a Southeast Asia nuclear weapon-free zone. The concerns of countries like Japan and others in the region must be brought in together. Denuclearization cannot be done simply as a national or even sub-regional effort. Ultimately, there must be a good nexus, a good synergy at the regional level, and foreseeably even in the future, a Northeast Asian nuclear non-proliferation commitment, not just on the Korean Peninsula.
Okay. Professor Yan Shi-tung, Chinese main objective is denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula or peace, stability in North Korea. Which one comes first?
Well, I think this certainly if we can have the peace treaty, that's the best, because it will guarantee a permanent peace for this region. But even before we can achieve this peace treaty, from my understanding, this now is a one-way traffic. And I don't think neither North Korea and U.S. can make the U-turn. And so if this U.S. Didn't make the decision to launch a war against North Korea, I don't think in the future the U.S., the other government will make that decision. For North Korea saying, since they are the shift to the economic force, it's also very difficult for them to turn back. So I think this is one-way traffic.
Professor Okonogi and 한국말로 하겠습니다. 아마 어떻든 제일 이 한반도 평화 프로세스에서가 가져올 전략적 변화에 민감하게 반응할 나라가 일본일 것 같아요. 일본일 것 같은데 우선 첫째, 한반도에서 군사 연습이 도발적이고 전쟁 게임이라고 하는 트럼프의 언급은 동맹의 중요성은 이미 이제 사라진 것 같이 보이지 않습니까? 동맹 관계라는 것은 별로 중요하지 않고 그러면 한반도가 지금까지 중국의 힘이라든가 러시아에 대한 말하자면 전초기지로서 한반도가 블로커 역할을 해왔는데 그렇게 되면 이제 한반도 평화 프로세스가 오면은 결국은 일본이 여기 전초기지 역할을 할 수밖에 없는 이런 현상이 등장하게 될 것이다. 그렇게 될 경우에 일본의 여론은 어떻게 될 것이며 일본의 군사적으로 옵션은 어떻게 될 것인가 하는 것이 아마 상당히 일본의 지금 자민당의 그 절대적인 말하자면 영향력 하에서 이게 어떤 방향으로 갈 것이냐 하는 게 상당히 많은 논란이 있는데 여기에 대해서
지금 일본이 tham与하는 환경 국제 정세는 아주 어렵다 봐요. 나는 아직까지 일본 사람들도 아마 일본 정부도 그렇게 심각하게 생각하지 않을지도 모르지만 왜냐면은 아까 나는 이도적으로 2+2란 말을 썼죠. 유럽 대단과 비교하면서 동독일이 서로 승인해서 일민족 국가를 시작했을 때 그때는 2+4란 말을 많이 썼습니다. 네. 지금 국제 상황을 보면은 빨리 일본도 북한하고 관계 정상화하는 게 나아요. 그게 쉽게 할 수 있는 것인데 그런데 그렇게 할 수 있는 조건이 마련되어 있는가 하면은 그렇지 않습니다. 교탕하기가 아주 힘들 거예요. 아베 총리도. 글쎄. 그리고 물론 과거 청산 문제하고 안보 문제하고 납치 문제하고 모든 것이 정부 일본이 한반도에서 가지고 있었던 북한과의 관계에서 가지고 있었던 모든 남은 어려운 문제들이 다 합쳐서 나오는 것이기 때문에 아주 심각하고 시간이 걸릴지도 모르겠습니다. 쉽게 되지는 않을 거라고. 그러면은 2+2에다가 러시아는 아마 쉽게 들어오고 지난번에 여기 문정인 대통령께서 러시아 방문했지 않습니까? 신문 기사를 보면은 남북하고 러시아 세 나라 협력 관계를 맺는다. 그게 아주 이것도 아름다운 모습이 되는데 러시아는 2+1이 들어오는데 마지막에 일본은 2+2+2 돼야 하는데 될 수 있는가가 알 수 없다는 이야기입니다. 그리고 또 하나는 유럽과 비교하면은 지금 상황은 다른 점도 많이 있죠. 그런데 그 당시와 비교하면 지금 상황은 돈독일이 호네카가 핵무기를 가지고 가지고 있는 상황인데 그러니까 현상 승인이라고 해도 많이 상황이 달라요. 그러니까 나는 유럽보다는 좀 시간이 걸리지 않을까. 그러나 방향은 그런 식으로 가는데 일본이 그것을 따라가기가 조금 시간이 걸리지 않을까 걱정하고 있습니다. 그런데 북한 측 입장으로 봐도 결국 일북한 관계 정상화는 필요합니다. 그리고 이 한반도의 국제 정세를 안정화시키기 위해서는 역시 일북한 관계 정상화가 필요합니다. 이게 먼저 선사되어 있었으면 이렇게 되지 않았는데 사실은 가네마루상이 1990년 북한 갔을 때 고이즈미상 2002년에 갔을 때 그때 국교 정상화 할 수 있었더라면 이렇게 되었습니까? 이렇게 되지 않았을 거예요. 북한도 다른 길을 찾았을지도 모르겠습니다. 그러니까 많이 그런 것으로 생각하면은 조금 아쉬움이 있는데 그래도 지금 상황은 생각보다 어렵다고 나는 보고 있습니다.
근데 한국 사람들의 입장에서 보면은 이 주변국들이 투 코리아 팔러시를 할 경우에 한반도의 영구 분단의 고착화 현상이
아니 뭐 장 선생 잘 아시면서 왜 그런 말을 하십니까?
그러니까 이것이
독일에서 2+2에서 20년 후에는 하나가 돼버린 것입니다.
이것을 극복해야 되는데 오히려 이런 현실로 갈 가능성이 많지 않아요. 그래서 제가 마지막으로 I want to raise because of time limit last question. What would be the end game? End game. The major players are going to play in the peace process on the Korean Peninsula. Mr. Meno, can you have any idea on this? What would it be? The end game on the Korean Peninsula.
No, I think, as you said, there are some questions which I think are very hard to see an end game. Denuclearization is one, reunification is the other, because I think this is a question of many people in the same bed with different dreams,
Simply speaking, we are very concerned about the division of perpetuation of division of.
Yeah, I don't think anybody in his right mind will say yes, it should be perpetuated. But the fact is that the policies of some great powers perpetuate the division, and I think we know that. But I don't see that being solved very quickly. I can see other issues of cooperation of peace and a much more stable situation being created much easier. But I think you have to leave some issues open for future generations. I mean, that to me is... So it's very hard to see one end game or one end point for this.
In my view, given the obviously very complex nature of the problems, decades long, ingrained in sense of mistrust, distrust that's so deep, and how these issues are very much interrelated with differing interests among countries of the region and countries outside the region, the best that we could hope for at this moment is to introduce a forum, a process where such difficult issues can be managed and can be discussed. Probably the current generation of leadership and beyond may not have the necessary wisdom to solve all these problems in one go. But at least we should have the wisdom, they should have the wisdom of recognizing that they need a forum to bring forth these issues. And I think the problem in the past has been there's been governance institutional deficit. We've had the six-party talks that have been on and off, occupying the space and yet not being properly empowered and not properly utilized. So in my view, again, going back to the main point that I was trying to make in my earlier intervention, let's allow some kind of a regional process to take root. The two Koreas, hopefully with Japan coming on board, and agree to disagree in many instances, but without having to resort to the type of, whether it be accidental war or intentional war, basically, therefore, to have a forum, a process. And a forum like Jeju Forum can, I think, in a way, crystallize the Panjundon's spirit that I mentioned before, to try to lock in the need for a process of dialogue.
Yanchi Tungo, you have any say on these issues?
Well, actually, if you look at the Chinese history, you find that our country divided, united, and divided again, united again for several times. So if you're talking about what the end game of the end of this game of the Korean Peninsula, I think they're endless. And anyhow, there's some new problem will come. You just solve the problem and then get a new problem like that. So generally speaking, and if we're talking about the short term, what we should do, I will agree with all these other panelists that we should focus on today and how to make the momentum moving forward and prevent it getting into the bumpy track, and so make it relatively smooth to implement it what agreed between the North and the South.
As I said earlier, ironically enough, up until recently, Americans and Japanese are blaming South Koreans are moving too fast toward China. and but all of a sudden, the situation is changing. And I want to introduce one interesting episode I heard from American Embassy. When I was invited to have a dinner, the American ambassador asked me about his experience in a provincial town, the headquarters of a new American forces in about 20 miles south of Seoul. And he visited the provincial city office, and the mayor explained about the importance of Korean-American alliance system and the facilities, all kinds of things. And there are two electric lights, were shown. And then all of a sudden he shifted to Pyeongtaek City and Chinese relationship. 21 lights, were shown. And the American ambassador and the general who accompanied him were quite shocked to see that at the headquarters of Korea-American Alliance, symbolic headquarters city, they were all concerned about the China business, not the American business at all. And that tells something about the current situation we Koreans find ourselves in, actually. I don't know whether, thanks to SARD issues, our mood has been shifting away from these kind of things, but nobody knows when, where we are moving, which way. This is really a critical situation at the critical juncture of denuclearization process. And you said that the balance of power policy, multi-party system, multi-power system may be stable, but up until our experience, up until now, bipolar structure was much more, stable, even though there was a serious tensions. And what would happen, we don't know. But we have a very serious historical legacy at the beginning of the 20th century. We tried to play one power against another, China against Japan, and Russia against China, Japan, and then finally we lost our country. And that kind of trauma is still very, strongly embedded in our mindset. And that kind of historical legacy still have some serious impact upon Korean older generations' mind by seeing this denuclearization process. And unfortunately, 2 American participants were supposed to come, but they couldn't come here, and we didn't have a chance to hear from them. But still, the advisory committee's members for GAC did an excellent job in illuminating the delicate issues and the problems we are facing here. And I would like to thank for all your presentations and contributions, and I want to conclude this session. Also, I am. Would it be possible for me to ask a couple of questions from? Yeah, okay. Floor. I will open the session to the floor. Mike.
예, 좋은 말씀 잘 들었습니다. 저희 대학교의 강근영입니다. 2가지만 질문드리겠습니다. 옌시했던 교수님이나 오코노기 교수님께서 어느 분이나 답변해 주시면 고맙겠습니다. 북한은 언제나 이 조선반도의 비핵화라는 말 쓰고요. 우리 문재인 대통령도 늘 한반도의 비핵화란 말 씁니다. 미국은 북한의 비핵화란 말 쓰다가 요즘은 이제 한반도의 비핵화란 말 씁니다. 그래서 이것이 이제 북한의 핵폐기하는 대가로 한반도 이제 남한의 비핵화라고 하는 의미가 결국은 지금 이 훈련이 중단돼 있고, 더 나아가서 이제 요즘 나온 얘기는 이제 한국에 대한 이제 미국의 핵 우산 제공하는 것까지 가야 된다. 그런 얘기도 나오고, 또 궁극적으로는 주한미군 철수까지도 나오는 것이 한반도의 비핵화라고 할 수도 있겠다는 그런 얘기들이 나옵니다. 그런 경우에 바로 그런 경우가 될 때 한국 정부가 과연 수용할 수 있을까? 아니면 완전히 이렇게 된다는 건 중국 영향이 커지는 건데 미국 정부가 과연 그것까지도 수용할 수 있을까 하는 그 문제를 하나 질문드리고 싶고요. 두 번째는요. 지금 북한의 비핵화가 어떻게 잘못하면은 비핵화로 포장된 북한의 핵국가가 그냥 인정되는 것은 아닌지, 그럴 가능성은 없는지 그거에 대해서 질문드리겠습니다. 고맙습니다.
또 질문을 다 받고 나중에 시간 관계상 다른 분 또 있습니까? 질문하실 분? 특별히 없으시면 우선 프로페셔널 연시통 you can respond to this. Can you respond to this question? Okay.
Well, denuclearization is the core concept for this issue. You can hear this term everywhere at this forum. Actually, people forget that. What's the goal of denuclearization? The goal is to have the peace. Like if you have the peace and the nuclear weapons still exist there, and if the process of denuclearization causes a war, what do you prefer? You prefer have a peace with nuclear weapons? You prefer a war without nuclear weapons. So denuclearization is the approach, methods, and its means is not the ends. So now look at that. The North Korea still maintain these weapons, but the relationship between North Korea and the South and the neighbors are changed. And even they improve the relationship with the U.S. with their nuclear weapons. So what I mean? It means that the relationship is the key variable. That's why these nuclear powers can maintain a relatively good relationship when they have nuclear weapons. China and Russia and US and UK, they even military partners when they possess nuclear weapons. So why they possess nuclear weapons is not a key issue. The key issue is that whether these nuclear weapons will cause a war or not. Now, from my understanding, now we have a good start. We already achieved the peace. We have a very great chance to maintain a durable peace in this region, even North Korea possesses nuclear weapons. Even they do not denuclearize their weapons, and in this situation, North Korea strongly emphasizes denuclearization of a Korean Peninsula. Actually, my understanding, they said that if you want me to get rid of mine, so you have to give up your nuclear umbrella from the U.S. From my understanding, they know that their evaluation, U.S. will not. And North Korea cannot allow U.S. say that, okay, from now on, no more military protection. So that's their evaluation. That's why they insist on this even, what they call the even, equal, or fair condition for denuclearization. And finally, I will say, and I think that some people underestimated the independence of North Korea. North Korea is just all of the other normal nation state. They are very independent. I don't think they will shape to China, listen to China. That's not this government. They are very independent. They make all the decisions for their national interests. I don't think they will give any concern about Chinese national interests. So what I mean, in the future, because the bipolar structure is already become the more and more solid or the obvious, and then North Korea will, like the other countries, they will take the opportunity of a confrontation between China and the U.S. and try to use all kinds of methods to benefit their own interests from take advantage of the conflicts between the U.S. and China. This has happened for thousands of years. Whenever regional system or global system is in a bipolar situation, and then all of these middle and lesser states will use this so-called non-alliance principle to benefit from both sides. But this time will be different from the Cold War. During the Cold War, you find the country will take sides either comprehensively, militarily, economically, and security at the either Soviet Union side of the Soviet Union or with the U.S. This time will be different. All of the countries possibly will force to take sides between China and the U.S., but this depends on the issue, not comprehensively. So we find that many ASEAN countries, they already adopted this strategy. Economically, they take sides with China, but in terms of security, they take sides with the U.S. So even now, the Europeans start to do that. In the future, I think more and more countries will follow this model. Thank you.
You say, Martin? Okay.
Could I just have a rejoinder on the last point? I'm afraid, in my view, there is a third choice for these countries. It's not just either with one of the major power or the other. You can develop your own regional capacity. I know it sounds very idealistic, but that's what essentially ASEAN has been doing. In the early years of ASEAN, initially our ambitions were somewhat limited.
Well, take a look at the Nasser, Nasser in Egypt.
I beg pardon?
Nasser in Egypt. Nasser in Egypt.
Yes.
In the early 1950s, you know.
Yes.
We can become a orphan in Northeast Asia, maybe. You know?
Absolutely. Well, yes,
that's a danger, you know.
Yeah. Well, the point that I was trying to make was that initially ASEAN was a little bit more minimalist in outlook. We speak of neutrality for ourselves. So please don't bother us, don't touch us. We want to be cocoon. We want to be saved from your rivalries. Neutrality was the watchword. That's why we had the zone of peace, freedom, and neutrality, ZOPFAN. But then our ambition became a bit more assertive, a bit more raised. We speak of regional resilience, a region having capacity to withstand all kind of mannerism of intervention from outside. But then we began to develop our own common external policies, developing the ASEAN Pluses, the ASEAN Regional Forum, the East Asia Summit, having the norm. We set the norms and rules under which other countries are to govern their relationship in our region. But it took 5 decades. It took 50 years. Now, what's needed in Northeast Asia, in my honest, humble view, is some kind of a leadership by countries of the region. And I think the Republic of Korea have shown that leadership, and they must be encouraged. I mean, there is life beyond China and the United States, in my view.
Okay, thank you. Menon, just a quick,
Well, I think there's a basic discussion here. Is this a bipolar system, or is it a multipolar system in Northeast Asia? That, for me, makes the difference. If it's a bipolar system, what Yen Shui says is absolutely right. And as you said, there's a risk of being orphaned, therefore people will choose sides and work together. I'm not sure that I think it's still a system in transition. It could be going to bipolarity, but it could be going to multipolarity. Look at what Korea has achieved. And if you look at the actual distribution of power, right now it's multipolar. But which way it's going, I don't know. And that's why this is going to be a process. It's not going to be settled today, tomorrow. It's going to be a process, but you have to keep it heading in the right direction.
오코노기 선생, 사이고노.
주한미군 이야기는 아주 복잡합니다. 그 이야기는 내가 하지 않아도 아시겠습니다만, 지금 트럼프 자신이 철수하기를 원하고 있다. 이게 북한과의 관계가 아닙니다. 그러니까 그런 차원 이야기도 있고, 그리고 미군이라고 해도 졸수인지 숙소인지 공군은 어떻게 하는가, 공군까지 졸수시키려고 하지 않을 것이고, 그런 것도 있고. 그런데 새로운 이야기는 지금 트럼프 이야기는 새로운 이야기고, 또 하나 새로운 이야기는 북한이 미국과 관계, 새로운 관계를 맺는다. 그렇게 주장하고 있다는 것입니다. 그 미국이 북한의 촉나라가 아니라는 그런 변화가 있을 수 있는 것입니다. 그리고 그러면 그런 관점으로서는 그 문제에 대해서 북한이 그렇게 신경을 안 쓸 수도 있는 것이고, 안 쓴다는 건 아니지만 그렇게 여태까지 바이폴라 세계에서 생각한 것과 조금 다름이 생긴다고 하고요. 그리고 미국의 전략적으로 보면은 그 주한미군이라는 게 사실은 북에 대한 것뿐이 아니라 중국으로 향해서 하는 것이기 때문에 그 이야기가 아주 복잡합니다. 이건 간단히 대답할 수 있는 문제가 아닙니다. 나는 역사를 연구한 적이 있어서 마카사가 마지막에 주한미군 그 당시 1949년 6월에 마지막 부대, 육군 부대가 졸수했을 때 미국의 육군성에서는 이코렌타이 센터단 한 한 레지멘털 콤바트 팀을 남아달라고 그게 주장했는데 마카사가 거절했어요. 졸수시켰습니다. 그 당시는 마카사 힘이 막대했기 때문에 그렇게 했는데 나중에 보면 그게 큰 실수였다는 것이죠. 또 하나 시간도 없는데 북한이 핵으로 진짜 포기하는가에 대해서는 아직까지 대답이 없다고 봐요. 그것은 완전 비핵화하려고 한다고 해서 의사표명한 것뿐이지 아마 트럼프 대통령 끝날 때 2020년 대통령 선거 때 오면은 그게 이리버서블한 비핵화 들어가는지 안 가는지 그때 그 사람들이 다시 고민해서 결단하지 않을까 그렇게 생각합니다. 나머지 두 개, 세 개 핵을 가지고 있는가 없는가는 아무도 알 수가 없고 그렇기 때문에 지금 한국이 주장하는 평화 정착이란 정책, 평화가 있어야 쓸 필요가 없게 되는 것이기 때문에 그 변환적으로 한다는 것은 아주 중요한 포리시라고 봅니다.
Thank you. Anyway, we all are concerned about the future of denuclearization. Maybe many cheat in the process, but halfway steps toward denuclearization, even if it's halfway step, maybe better than full stride toward war. And at the moment, we are avoiding war possibilities, and we hope we keep our fingers crossed for denuclearization. And thank you for your participation, and also thank you for the floor audience. I want to adjourn this session. Thank you very much.